Hello Scouts, my name is Jeremy Baselli. I am the Nature Guy coming at you live from this beautiful bug shed, wishing y'all a very happy Earth Day. Now, the reason that I'm here today is to talk about some of the creatures that are in my personal collection. Now, the main things that are in my collection are going to be arachnids and, like this guy, insects. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about today are going to be cockroaches, but not the ones that invade your house. These ones are from Madagascar. They are quite large, as you can see. In size comparison to my hand, these are hissing cockroaches. Now, the male hissing cockroach is different looking than the female hissing cockroach, which means that they are sexually dimorphic. Now, the way that you can tell them apart is by the male hissing cockroach on the pronotum, which is kind of this head shield that kind of protects his head from predators, and as you can see, my finger touches him, he kind of pushes back with it. Now, these two horns, as said before, they're only prominent on the males. When you look at the female, you might see a small little bump, but nothing too much, nothing in comparison to these males. Another way to tell the males apart from the female is their antenna. So the male's antenna is going to have more of this plumose type fluff on them, and the female's is going to be just a typical very thin antenna without those hairs. The reason that these males have these hairs on their antenna is because the females will release a scent when they reach a certain age, saying, oh, hey, I need a boyfriend. And the males pick this up when they're a certain age, and they're like, oh, I'll go find the girlfriend. So this female cockroach could be all the way across the room, but if she's releasing that scent, the male will, what are you doing? The male will be able to smell it with those hairs on the antenna. There's another way of being able to tell the male hissing cockroaches apart from the females, but we really won't go into that because it kind of goes deep in their anatomy. But there you go. That is a big boy right there. Definitely love him. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put them... Get off me. Put them back in here, and they can rejoin their colony later. Now, I will show off another cockroach today. This is probably not what you think of when you think of a cockroach. A lot of people think either hissing cockroach or the American roaches, which are all like brown and kind of pill-shaped. These guys... No, these guys are different, and they're actually really, really pretty. So this, guys, is a domino cockroach. Doesn't really look like a cockroach. Looks more like a beetle, but it has these beautiful spots on them, and you can even see that it still has some of those little plumose hairs on it for the same exact reason. Now, these guys are a very small species of cockroach, and they're not that common to see around. So it's really cool that you guys have the opportunity to see them here. And they're doing quite well as a colony. I do have a couple of these, but this is the one that's out, and don't really feel like digging up the dirt too much in here. So we're just going to show off this guy today. But yeah, you can even look at his wings, and you can even see that they have a little bit of a velvety texture on them. Yeah, quite a beautiful species, honestly. Gonna go ahead. Oh, actually, we have another one out. And this is very cool because we get to see the difference between an adult and a juvenile. Now, this is another little cockroach of the same species, same everything. One day, this cockroach will grow up and look like this cockroach, but this is called an instar. Now, an instar is basically the juvenile form of the adult, or of the cockroach. So you can see that they do differ in their form. This guy won't look like this until he's an adult. So for now, he just kind of has this kind of plain shielding on him, but he still has that velvety texture on him. Very, very cool roach. So we're going to go ahead and put these guys back. Now, next today, we're going to dive into some arachnids. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about are tarantulas. Now, there are two different main classifications of tarantulas. There's Old World tarantulas and there's New World tarantulas. Old World tarantulas obviously come from the Old World. If you want to think of it in a school sense, you guys can think about England, you guys can think about all those places before the Pilgrims came to the New World, which is the Americas. So in the Old World, you have tarantulas that are native to India, you have tarantulas that are native to Asia, all those different places. In the New World, they're mainly in Central and South America, but we do have some in North America too. Now, the way that they differ is that the New World tarantulas, they have a interesting defense technique known as an urticating hair patch. And that urticating hair patch is a little patch of hairs that's going to be on their abdomen that they kick off when they feel threatened. The Old World tarantulas, they do not possess this urticating hair patch, so they kind of pack a more powerful venom and they're more quick to bite. So, for the first tarantula that I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to show you a New World tarantula. This is a Lasiodora peribanya, also known as the salmon pink bird eater. Now, I'm not going to take this tarantula out because, as I said before, New World tarantulas have an urticating hair patch. And if you look at the top, if you do a top view, and we can even remove this top a little bit more, that way you can get a better view. That space where the tarantula is balding, that's where the urticating hair patch is. Now, the reason why it's balding in that space is, for one, it's going through something called pre-molt, which is when it's about to molt and shed its exoskeleton, and it's going to be much bigger than it is now when it pops out. But as that happens, its abdomen expands, so the urticating hair patch is, since it's more of a flexible and it's only a temporary thing that's there, it's more easily to go away. Another reason why it's balding in that spot is because I know that sometimes when I drop food in there, it feels threatened, so it'll kick those hairs off. Now, the reason for those hairs is that way, when they're kicked off, they're kind of barbed, so they'll flick up, and like if there's like a coyote, if there's some animal that's messing with it, it'll get into the nostrils of that. The next tarantula that I'm going to show you today is going to be an Old World tarantula. So this, it's very small right now. It's going to get a lot bigger. This tarantula is known as a sling. So a sling is basically just a small baby tarantula or juvenile form of a tarantula. So let's try to remove this lid. Now, as you can see, there's a lot more webbing in this cage, and that's just because this tarantula in particular likes to web a lot. Now, this is a rear horn baboon tarantula, and the reason why it's called a rear horn baboon tarantula is because if you look at the top of the cephalothorax, you guys can see there's a little notch that's coming out. It kind of looks like a bump. Now, that bump is actually the horn of this tarantula, and there's a few tarantulas that possess this. Not too many do. That's why it's kind of like a rare thing. So it's really cool to have one of these guys. Now, they do web a lot, but as I said before, they have no urticating hair patch. So believe it or not, this tarantula is in pre-molt too. Yes, it's a lot smaller, but they still have to go through pre-molt as well. But you see how there's not that balding of the abdomen area? That's because they don't possess that urticating hair patch. So as their body expands, they're not going to get rid of temporary hairs because they only have permanent hairs. So these guys, as said before, they are more quick to bite if they feel threatened, and they do possess a little bit stronger of a venom. So we're not going to touch this guy. We're not going to interact with him. We're just going to go ahead and leave him be, especially since he isn't pre-molt, because we don't want to disturb him too much. Oh, if you want to look, here he is. He kind of like popped out. Yeah. Beautiful, gorgeous tarantula. Really excited to own them. And that tarantula will get about the size of my hand. And one thing that I did mention before is this tarantula in particular is known as a salmon pink bird eater. I may have said the name, but I don't think I really specified on how big these tarantulas get. These are a very large tarantula. They are known to get up to 9 to 10 inches in leg diameter. So that's huge. That's almost the size of a small dinner plate. In comparison, this guy is only going to get about the size of my hand. Arachnid that I'm going to be showing you guys today is a spider. Now, this spider is found all throughout the U.S., but we're going to be particularly looking at a species that comes from the West. So this is Latrodactys asperus. This is the western black widow spider. Now, there are lots of common actually, let's see if you can see that little hourglass in there. Let's see if she turns, and I'll just talk as she's going. So some misconceptions about the black widow spider are that they are poisonous, that if one bite can kill you, that they're just these things that are out there trying to get you. That is not the case at all. So for one, they're not poisonous. There's something known as venomous. Poison you have to ingest, or it has to be put into your body, and venom gets injected into you. So you can eat something poisonous and you get bit by something venomous. So these are a venomous spider, and 9 times out of 10, if they bite you, it's going to be something known as a dry bite. This is a bite where they don't deliver any venom. So the only reason that they're going to deliver venom is if they feel extremely threatened or if they're biting a food item. So if they bite me, 9 times out of 10, as I said, they're not going to deliver venom unless I'm really agitating them and they feel threatened. If they're biting a food item or a prey item, then they will be more likely and more inclined to use venom because they're going to get that immediate energy return. Yeah, she's very beautiful. This is a full-grown female. Now, the males of the species, I don't have any in my collection right now, but they're much smaller than the female, and they actually don't really look like this. They still have the little hourglass pattern, but their abdomen is a white color instead of that black kind of creamy color. So we're going to put this guy back. And as always, with venomous animals that are in here, or highly venomous animals that are in here, we always have our labels just to let people know as they're walking through to exercise a little bit more caution towards these animals in the collection. So, this is 1 out of 5 of my black widows that I have. I've raised them all from an egg sac just to see what kind of different enclosures they need to live in, what kind of living space, and how small of a living space we can actually get in. So a full-grown black widow can live comfortably in these small vials as well as these bigger vials, but they tend, if you see this one, if they're in a bigger vial, they want to be in a small space. So this is the biggest female that I have, and she has taken all this area and kind of condensed it to make it into our own like little small home in there. So pretty cool stuff. Now we're going to move away from the spiders and we're going to go straight into the scorpions. So the first scorpions that I'm going to show you today, this is a Asian forest scorpion, Heteromeritus spinifera. So, and it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scorpion. So, I'm not going to really agitate it. We're just going to try to jump. There it goes. And that little brown piece that's on it, that's actually a leaf that's just stuck to it. So, this is the Asian forest scorpion. As their name suggests, they are from the continent of Asia. These guys, they are jet black. Reason being is because unlike desert scorpions, which are like tan blending with the sand, these guys are jet black and darker in coloration because they like to kind of hang in the shadows. They're more of like a sit and wait type predator. So that's why I have this hide in there, and that's why I have all this different like woodland like substrate with the leaf litter. And it's because when it's nighttime in here, when he's hiding in here, if you look straight down in there when he's in there, you're not going to see him unless he moves and there's a light behind him. And this is the same for like cockroaches and things like that. When they're walking along here, they won't see him, and he can easily come out of the shadows, grab them, and take them into his lair and ingest them. Now, this is a big scorpion, but ironically enough, they don't have a very strong venom. So you can see the stinger right there. That's where they would deliver their venom, but they have these big, huge claws in comparison to most scorpions. Now, a rule of thumb with scorpions, the bigger the claws, the less potent in venom they are. Now, that's not always the case, but for these bigger scorpions, they much rather take something down with their pure strength rather than their venom. So, and as you can see, he's being very, very well behaved. There are times where the scorpion's temperament is very off the chart and you can't really tell where it's going. You touch it and it flares up and it goes into what is called a threat pose, and that's where the claws come up and the tail comes up and the stinger's out and the claws are open and he kind of can hiss at you. Now, he's not really hissing. What I heard that he's doing is he's forcing air out, and he's also rubbing some of these sclerites together. So we're going to go ahead and put him down. Now, the sclerites are his armor, and then the suture parts are going to be like those spaces between the armor. That's what allows him to bend up like that. And if he wanted to sting me, he could. But we're going to go ahead and put him down. Now, I'm still showing up some of my bigger scorpions in my collection. So as I said before, this is my Asian forest scorpion. This is Brutus, by the way. We also have another pretty big black scorpion. This, guys, is the emperor scorpion. Ta-da! Actually, that's a dubia cockroach, sorry. Get down. That's what they eat. That's the food that they eat. Now, that is a full male. full-grown male. So we have our emperor scorpions in here, and emperor scorpions, as well as Asian forest scorpions, can live in a communal setup. The emperor scorpions are going to be a little bit better at it. I feel like they're a little bit more accustomed to living in communities, unless the Asian forest scorpions have been brought up that way. So, like, this was my first emperor scorpion. As you can see, he goes into that threat posture where the stinger goes up, the claws open up, and they also have these big claws. So we're going to go ahead and move. I'm going to take Tiny out. Come here. Come here, little guy. Now, this is obviously a lot smaller. It's almost the same size as Brutus was, but it is a lot smaller than these other full-grown, come here, emperor scorpions. So I'm just going to put this here, and I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to talk. So, these guys are native to Africa, unlike the Asian forest scorpions, which are native to Asia. And if you look at the tops of their claws, you're going to see these hairs that are sticking off. Now, those hairs are going to be sensory organs. So basically anything that blows or sends a vibration to those hairs, they'll ring and kind of let the scorpion know that there's something around. And all the time he's doing that, there's actually something called pectins that he has underneath his body, and he's also sensing the area with those pectins too, getting a layout for the land. Now, if you take a close look at the claws again, you'll notice that they're a bit more grainy and that they have this kind of oval structure right here. It kind of actually looks like a half of a heart. Now, while the Asian forest scorpions, come here, Brutus. His claws don't really have those holes or those divots inside of it, and they're a bit more smooth. And as you can see, his coloration is actually a bit more bluish-greenish black, while this guy's is more of a reddish, brownish black. And if you also look at the stinger areas, the stingers of the emperor scorpions tend to be a little bit more yellow and brighter in color, while the Asian forest scorpions tend to be a little bit blacker. Now, both these scorpions get pretty big in size, but the biggest scorpions on the planet are actually a type of Asian forest scorpion, or a type of forest scorpion that I believe also live in Asia. I don't have that species. I would love to have that species, but that species for a single female is $4,000. So go ahead. I have 2 scorpions on my hand now, and I'm trying to get them off. So we're going to take care of Tiny first. Go ahead, Tiny. All right. I'll take care of Brutus again. You're the bomb. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I will get this more situated after. Now, I do have one more scorpion to show. And this guy is actually a lot smaller, and it's a native. Now, this guy, or these guys, since I have 13 of them, and I'm actually going to move them a little bit more into the light, that way you guys can have a better viewing of them. So, for right now, I'm just going to put these guys down here. Like I said, we're going to move these guys into the light because it's important that you guys have as much light as you can to see them because they blend in perfectly with their surrounding. What's that? Something. Okay, guys, so I'm actually going to open this up. That way you can stick the camera in there. So these scorpions are actually native to America, and they are the most venomous. There's one right here if you want to try to zoom in on him. It is the most venomous scorpion in the United States. Now, typically, these scorpions can't kill you, unless you are allergic to them, but they will put you in a hospital, and they do produce a excruciating venom. Of course, I'm talking about the Arizona bark scorpions, and as I said before, there are 13 of them, and they are extremely, extremely awesome creatures. The fact that they can live communally like this is great, and they don't take up a whole lot of space. Some interesting facts about these scorpions is that they are phenomenal climbers, and they are great escape artists. If you look at the side of the cage, we had to line it with a petroleum-type jelly. That way, if the scorpion actually does grab onto it, it'll just slide down and not come out. And we had to do that all along every single hole that the tank had to offer. Now, these scorpions only need something about the size of a credit card, about as thin as a credit card, to get out if they're small enough. If they're a little bit bigger, then it's not much bigger. It's probably about the thickness of a button, and they can fit through it. They're very good at squeezing into different places. And in Arizona, they are kind of not a pest species, but a nuisance, because in a lot of developing areas in Arizona, they are getting into people's houses, they are getting into people's yards, they are getting everywhere where people obviously don't want them to be, especially since they are the most venomous scorpion in the country. So that is the Arizona bark scorpion, and hopefully you guys got to see a bunch of them in there. All right. So the last thing we're going to talk about today is not an insect or an arachnid. It's a myriapod known as a centipede. Now, I do have several different species of centipedes in my collection. I have a feather-tail centipede. I have 3 Vietnamese centipedes. But unfortunately, it was a bit of a cold day in here. And even with the heater in here, it still gets a little chilly in here. So they'll go ahead and they burrow down their substrate. And I'm not going to go ahead and dig them up. But this guy always likes to stay towards the surface, probably under his little log right now. Now, if you guys are familiar with Coyote Peterson and the Brave Wilderness YouTube channel, you guys have seen this species before. This is another native species to America. This is the Scolopendra harris. Now, this one that I have here is not the same size as the one that bit Coyote Peterson. This is a small one, but the bite would still hurt. So let's go ahead and try to see if he'll come out. Oh, go ahead. Oh, he said no. Go ahead. You know my hand. So as you can see, he is a very yellow color, and he doesn't have the same head color that the one that bit Coyote Peterson did. Reason being is because not all these centipedes, even though they are the same species, have the same color pattern. There are some that are native to Texas. There are some that are native to Arizona. I believe the Texas is known as a Texas redhead centipede, and instead of having the yellow body with the black head and the black end piece, it's going to have a red head and a black. Luckily for me, I kind of got something in between that. He has a black end piece, but a beautiful yellow head that kind of blends in with the rest of his body. And if I can get him out here, he does try to stay in the back area. We're going to go ahead and we're going to see his pro legs. Now his ultimate legs. His ultimate legs are these beautiful blue coloration, and they are just spectacular to see.